Good evening, everyone. My name is Debbie McNeil. I'm a member of the League of Women Voters of Edina, and I am your moderator this evening for this candidate forum. Before we start, I would like everyone to get out their cell phones and please turn them off. Thank you very much. I'd like to welcome you all tonight, the candidates, the audience, and those viewing the forum on cable, on behalf of the League of Women Voters, Minnetonka, Eden Prairie, and Hopkins. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan volunteer organization which is organized at the local, state, and national level to encourage citizens to participate in government. While we, as the League of Women Voters, do study and take stands on issues, we never endorse or support political parties or candidates. The League is an organization of both men and women, and you can find information about joining the League of Women Voters on the website www.lwvmeph.org. The League encourages informed and active participation of all citizens in government and influences public policy through education and advocacy. And as I just said, the League does not support or oppose political parties or candidates. The views expressed in this forum are those of the candidates and not those of the League of Women Voters. It's our purpose in sponsoring meetings like this to provide you with an opportunity to hear candidates discuss issues face-to-face that are important to you. There is never enough time to cover all of the issues in a limited time and setting such as this. So if your questions are not addressed tonight, please feel free to contact the candidates directly. We ask that there be no campaign buttons, signs, or literature worn or distributed until after the forum in the lobby outside the double doors. There will be no outside recording of this event. Anyone recording tonight will be asked to leave. The event is now being broadcast live on Comcast Channel 16. The candidate forum will be rebroadcast repeatedly in its entirety on Comcast Channel 16, and it will also be available by streaming video at the city website and at www.lwvmeph.org. To the live audience, you are welcome to submit as many written questions for the candidates as you like. Just hold up the cards as you finish them, and a League of Women Voters member will collect them throughout the forum. To our remote viewers, you may submit questions during this candidate forum using the anonymous form on the website www.lwvmeph.org. The form is on the tab Eden Prairie Municipal Candidate Forum. This is the first time that this league has tried online questions, and so please be patient if there are any technical difficulties. Questions that are unclear, hostile, or of a personal nature will not be used. Those that fall in the same general area may be consolidated. The cards become the property of the League of Women Voters. If the answer was unclear to you, please feel free to submit a follow-up question or ask the candidates after the forum. One of the candidates, Nancy Tyra Lukens, is unopposed for the mayoral seat. Per the League of Women Voters' empty chair policy, unopposed candidates may only participate in the opening and closing statement sections of the forum. The audience members may informally meet with Nancy Tyra Lukens as well as with the other candidates in the lobby right after the forum. The speaking order for the city council candidates was determined before the forum, with the candidates choosing numbers at random, and the speaking order will rotate with each question. All the candidates were invited to this forum, and they all accepted the invitation to attend. I will now introduce the candidates to you, starting at my far left. Nancy Tyra Lukens, who is unopposed for mayor and will present opening and closing statements only. And then next to her is Andrew Muller. Next to him is Kathy Nelson, pardon me. And next to her is Sherry Butcher-Wickstrom. Now we'll proceed to opening statements. The candidates were told that they could each make a 2-minute opening statement, and we'll start with Nancy Tyra Lukens, and then we will go to Sherry Butcher-Wickstrom, then Kathy Nelson, and then Andrew Muller.
Okay. Thank you very much. I want to thank the League of Women Voters for hosting this event again. My name is Nancy Tira-Lukens, and I've had the honor of serving for 7 years on the Eden Prairie City Council, followed by 9 years as mayor. My husband and I moved to Eden Prairie from Nashville, Tennessee with a young family for the same reasons that I know many of you moved to Eden Prairie. We have outstanding schools, we have an exceptional park system, we have green space, we have great public safety, and we have well-maintained amenities. Past councils, city staff, and our wonderful residents have worked hard together to build a wonderful place for people to live and a wonderful place for business to locate. We have over 2,000 businesses in Eden Prairie. We have a thriving regional mall. We have over 40 parks, 52 baseball and softball fields, lacrosse fields, soccer fields, disc golf, dog parks, splash pads, over 100 miles of biking trails, something for everyone, and these facilities are really well utilized. We have finally begun construction on a badly overdue new aquatic center, which is going to meet the needs of swimmers young and old, able-bodied or disabled, for decades to come. Our current city council has ensured that all quadrants of the city are now covered by their own fire station, and we have a new duty crew system that slashes response times when an emergency occurs. We have a well-trained police force. We have fought for and achieved improvements to our highways and transportation systems. We attained our first AAA bond rating while I was mayor, and we continue to earn that designation, a recognition of wise financial stewardship of our city. We've been nationally recognized for innovation in the area of sustainability. We've been recognized as a great place to live, a great place to raise a family, and believe it or not, a great place to retire. Our park system frequently wins awards for excellence, and our finance department is recognized for their excellence in financial reporting also. Our city taxes are among the lowest of comparable cities in the metro area. Things are going very well in Eden Prairie. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now we'll call on Sherry Butcher-Wickstrom for her opening remarks.
Yes. Thank you. My name is Sherry Butcher-Wickstrom, and it has been my great privilege to serve as City Council member for 16 years, and I am enthusiastically running for re-election. As a model city in the nation, Eden Prairie is fortunate to have had solid council leadership, reliable city management, and steady vision to become not just a good city, but a great one. I am running for re-election because I believe Eden Prairie needs experienced leaders to continue to make sound decisions on the many important issues that we face. I believe we need to address our challenges with innovation and know-how, and we also need to be able to see opportunities and have the willingness to try new things. As a longtime member of the City Council, I have witnessed tremendous change in Eden Prairie, growing from a quiet town with a rural feel to a well-known city with great public amenities and a well-established business foundation. I am pleased to have worked with so many residents over the years who have helped shape our town. Building a great city does not happen by chance. An extraordinary city happens because we are paying attention. We are always planning for the future. It happens because we take the time to learn and understand our changing world and demographics, and we have the courage to change too. Over the next 4 years, as your re-elected City Council member, my hope is to lead Eden Prairie into the future, to continue to provide cost-effective, high-quality services, a strong sense of well-being and safety, and an enhanced quality of life by sustaining a prosperous economic base. I am proud to call Eden Prairie my home for more than 30 years, and I am honored to serve as a longtime City Council member.
Thank you very much. Now we'll call on Kathy Nelson for her opening remarks.
Hi, I'm Kathy Nelson, and I'm a current council member running for my 3rd term here in Eden Prairie. My family has lived in Eden Prairie for 22 years. We originally moved to Eden Prairie because we liked the area and loved the schools. While acting as a council member, I've also been active in the community. I sit on the Eden Prairie Foundation Board and the Chamber Government Committee and the St. Andrews Food Group, even the Eden Prairie Red Hats, and I represent the city on the Southwest Light Rail Transit Works Committee. I think it's important to stay active and be out and listen and respond to people in the community and get their ideas about what's happening. For education background, I have a BA in communications and certificate in emergency management. And the emergency management gives me some insights on some of the things the city needs to be doing to keep our community safe. I like to look for creative ways to solve problems and make sure the city is solving problems that come up while they're still small and before they become large problems. I've encouraged innovation on the part of the city and have found that our staff responds extremely well to encouragement, and they come up with wonderful ideas that uses city money as well as possible and allows us to do things better. It even allows us to get the snow plowed faster, which everybody likes. On the council, since I've been on it, we've had sensible low taxes while keeping up excellent city services. And I've committed to those services and will redo so. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Now we'll call on Andrew Muller for his opening remarks.
Thank you. My name is Andrew Muller, and again, I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters for hosting this event this evening. I've lived in Eden Prairie for 29 years. Time is short on the opening statements, so I'd invite everyone who's watching on TV to visit my website, which is www.andrewkmuller.com. I was born in Spicer, Minnesota, and I grew up in a farm. I attended the University of Minnesota, and I graduated in 1981 with a degree in business. In 1981, I also passed the CPA exam, and I began my professional career working for Arthur Andersen, which was a large auditing and accounting firm. After leaving Arthur Andersen, I joined Barnes & Noble and was there for a little over 6 years. I also earned my MBA in 1990 from the University of Minnesota Carlson School of Management. In 1992, I joined Christopher & Banks Corporation, and I had a series of promotions and was ultimately promoted to Vice President and CFO of Christopher & Banks in 1998. I held that position for 10 years, and fortunately, Christopher & Banks was a company that grew very rapidly while I was there. We had revenues of over $500 million and 800 store locations, so we were a very successful company, and as a result of that, I was actually able to retire in 2008. One of the reasons I'm running for city council is that I believe a referendum should have been offered to the voters before the city council approved a $21 million addition for the aquatic center at the community center. I look forward to discussing this issue and other issues as we proceed through the program tonight. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now we'll go to questions that have been submitted either tonight or have already been received online. And the first question will be for Kathy Nelson because the speaking order will rotate. The question is this: do you think Eden Prairie has enough high-density, low-income housing, or will you agree with the Met Council's efforts to expand that? And everyone now has 1 minute to answer each question.
Eden Prairie has been for a long time trying to, as we add new rental houses, add a small percentage of affordable housing within that. Not necessarily low-income housing, it's affordable housing, which is a little different matter. And it provides good housing for everybody who lives in those buildings. I think Eden Prairie should be continuing to do that. We try to keep up with what we've promised for that, but as far as just high-density, low-income housing, we really haven't done that for decades. And it was the federal government who did that at one time. We need to do our part, but we've been doing it in a way that we feel is very good for the citizens who need that affordable housing.
Thank you very much. Next, Andrew Muller. Would you like me to repeat the question?
Sure.
Okay. The question is, do you think Eden Prairie has enough high-density, low-income housing, or will you agree with the Met Council's efforts to expand that?
Currently, I think our population in Eden Prairie is 62,000, and I believe the projections for a full built-out city is going to be 75,000. So I'm not in favor of adding a lot of high-density, low-income housing. I do realize that we do have a mixture of housing right now, but with only 13,000 units remaining, much of those will be determined by the market.
Okay, thank you very much. And now Sherry Butcher-Wickstrom, would you like me to repeat the question?
I think I understand.
Okay, go ahead then, thank you.
Yep. Actually, this was an issue, not an issue, but a concern that we've had for many, many years, a couple of decades in the city. And we paid very close attention to these livability goals that we had. And when we reviewed developments, we looked to see how we might be able to have higher density. And that was so that we could do this life cycle housing where young people could afford houses as they were coming into Eden Prairie. Because you never want to have a stock of housing that only certain people can afford. And so so we really look to the life cycle housing. And I think we've done a fairly good job at offering high-density housing or medium-density housing in the past. I do think that the Met Council 2040 plan is somewhat ambitious, and I am not sure that we really will reach a population that they are projecting. So I think we need to stay at the table and continue to review the plan of the Met Council.
Thank you very much. The next question, we'll start with Andrew Muller, and here's the question. What is your perspective on the light rail transit that is expanding into Eden Prairie?
Well, at this point, the city has given the municipal consent for the light rail, so there are still a few issues that remain. One of them would be trying to minimize the impact that the light rail will have on existing business. Another would be to minimize traffic issues with crossings at grade level. And a final issue would be to minimize the impact on the route on the wetlands where the route runs through those wetlands. I know there is still an environmental impact study to be completed, but we'd like to see the results of that.
Okay, thank you very much. Next is Sherry Butcher-Wickstrom. Would you like the question repeated? The question is, what is your perspective on the light rail transit that is expanding into Eden Prairie?
I think the light rail transit is a very important element, not only in Eden Prairie, really, but regionally. And for those of us who've been on the council for a long time, this was the possibility of light rail coming to Eden Prairie was something we looked at, I think, back in the 1990s, the late 90s. So we've been collecting resident perspectives about this for a very long time. Also, as a person who is a commuter, I see the kind of congestion that is just has a stranglehold on our population, our commuters, our businesses. So I think this, by having our 5 stations in Eden Prairie, will help to provide a solution, or a part of a solution anyway, to the traffic congestion that we have. I think it's a very positive development, and I also think that this will be good not just for now and the next 5 years, but for 30 years and 40 years in the future.
Thank you very much. Kathy Nelson?
I'm fine.
Okay, thank you.
I think it's very important that Eden Prairie makes sure that the promises made to us about LRT are actually lived up to by the Met Council. And representing Eden Prairie on the Light Rail Transit Works Committee puts me in the perfect situation to do that. I've already done, at every meeting it seems like there's something comes up that you want to make sure that Eden Prairie's perspective is there, that we don't get forgotten because we're at the end of the line. But it's a wonderful opportunity for the city. Especially in the Golden Triangle areas for redevelopment, where it's actually an island surrounded by freeways. And this will be one way of getting people in and out to the workplace where it can develop more. The Chamber is very excited about this for Eden Prairie. And so I think that with the opportunity, it's going to be a great thing for Eden Prairie.
Okay, thank you very much. The next question will start with Sherry Butcher-Wickstrom, and here is the question. Schools are an important component of a strong, vital community. What is your opinion on the school district referendum?
I endorse the referendum wholeheartedly, and both of the questions. I can tell you just as a person who has knocked on a lot of businesses' doors just to find out why they moved here. They generally say two things. They've moved here because the schools are so strong and because Eden Prairie is so attractive, offers beautiful parks and open space. The schools are so pivotal to a healthy community, and I absolutely support, endorse. My name is on the list that is public for the school district. We need to pass this referendum.
Thank you very much. Andrew Muller, should I repeat the question?
No, I'm fine.
Okay, go ahead, please.
And in today's Star Tribune, I think there was an article that indicated that the Eden Prairie schools are in the top 15% of all schools. So we are doing a great job already. I think education is the key to prosperity, and for that to continue, I think we need to support the referendum.
Thank you very much. Kathy Nelson?
I'm very much in favor of the referendum. Our family moved here for the education for our children. We moved here because we had great schools. But if we don't have the money from the referendum, and it will be one of the least funded districts in the area, we can't have that happen to our community. It's not only important for our children, it's important for our property values, how businesses move into the city, how the whole metropolitan community views Eden Prairie. It's absolutely essential that we pass this referendum.
Thank you very much. The next question is, I'm going to try and put two questions together and see if this works in a minute. And the first person to answer will be Kathy Nelson. Here are the two questions. How much will the Aquatic Center expansion at the Eden Prairie Community Center cost the taxpayers? And why did you oppose, or why would you have supported a voter referendum for the Aquatic Center upgrade?
So let's see, it's first,
How much will it cost? And did you oppose, or why would you have supported a voter referendum for the upgrade?
I did vote for the pool on the council. It was a unanimous vote. The pool will come in with the bids at slightly under 19 million. And the bids are in at this point. It was a fiscally responsible thing to do, to not wait for an extra year for the pool. It would have added 4 to 5% on for costs. We had a year of discussion with the community, and I found, much to my surprise, that almost every type of group in the community wanted it. The only people who were happy with the current pool was like 4th and 5th grade parents who thought the swimming program was okay and their kids were old enough for the water. But we had the opportunity to do this year what we didn't have in the past because we had paid off bonds, and that's to have the pool without raising taxes, and it was the right time to do it.
Thank you very much. Sherry Butcher-Wickstrom, let me read it again, it's a long question. How much will the Aquatic Center expansion at the Eden Prairie Community Center cost taxpayers? And why did you oppose, or why would you have supported a voter referendum for the Aquatic Center upgrade?
I also voted for the Aquatic Center and believe that it will be a wonderful investment now and far into the future. I just want to make sure that everyone knows that we did not have an option in terms of what we needed to do with the pool because the current pool had failed. So in terms of why didn't we choose a voter referendum, and I would answer that by saying that in local government there are many different ways to do a thing. And we looked at lots of different possibilities for this. But one of the great solutions, we thought, was this ability to use something called tax abatement bonds, which actually saved us a lot of money. And it was really exciting when we found out that we would have a very low interest rates by using tax abatement bonds. I think 3.4. And because we're in such good standing, and we're AAA bond rated by a number of different agencies, that's one of the reasons we were able to get such great bond rating, interest rate.
Thank you very much. Andrew Muller, do you want the questions repeated?
No, I'm fine.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead then.
The aquatic center will end up being the most single expensive public works project in Eden Prairie history, and the city council approved it without a referendum, which I definitely disagree with. The cost that I've seen is that the pool will cost $21 million for the aquatic center upgrade. It's being financed with $17 million of bond debt, which will result in an additional $7 million of interest expense. Debt service will take place over 20 years. It will be approximately, on average, $1.2 million a year for 20 years. And if you look at the general fund expenditures, it's 3% of the general fund every year for 20 years. So certainly, I think with my financial background, we'll have to look at the budget very closely to find other areas where perhaps expenses can be cut, because this is something we're going to have to live with for a long time. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Here's the next question, and we'll start with this one, with Andrew Muller again. It's always easy to suggest as a candidate that taxes should be lower, but if you favor lowering taxes, tell us what you would cut.
Well, I guess one thing that I would certainly look at is the historic properties that are owned by the city of Eden Prairie. The Green Acres Barn is an event center that's owned by Steve Schussler. At one time, Eden Prairie had proposed to buy that. He bought it, put it on the public rolls. He's now running an extremely successful business and paying this year with special assessments over $25,000 in taxes. So if we look at the other properties, the barn that we have could be easily another event center. I did leave some information on the table outside that from yesterday's paper, where there's a barn in Northfield that's used as a pizza barn, where there's natural ingredients grown on site and used to make pizzas, and used as an event center for the remainder of the time. The Smith Douglas house would be a perfect house to be actually owned by Dunn Brothers instead of rented. And then I think on the Cummins Grill House, we're receiving $1 a year in rent from the Historical Society. And that's something where I'd say it could be easily turned into like an ice cream store for the thousands of kids that play on the Flying Cloud fields. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Kathy Nelson?
I'll start with saying I don't think that selling off our historic property or our parks is the way to deal with the city budget. For me, how you deal with the city budget is to find changes that you can make that both keep up services and cost less year after year after year. It's not just a one-time cost. We've started out, at my suggestion, with trying LED streetlights in the parking lot outside. It worked well. Then we've gone to all the city-owned streetlights, which is a small number because XL Energy owns most of ours. And we need to work over the next couple of years with XL to get all LED streetlights. It costs 1/3 to run them, and that's a 2% savings in taxes right there by the time all of them get up. Innovation does a lot of things. At the time I've been on the council, taxes are 3% lower because of the innovations the city has made than they would have been otherwise. It does work a little bit here, a little bit there.
Thank you very much. Sherry Butcher-Wickstrom?
Yes, we actually have a model budget process that we use. It's a model that has received a lot of awards, honestly, and is a model that other cities do use. It's a 2-year budgeting model. And the way we budget, we really base it on the services which are reflected in what our residents want and what they tell us we want. And one thing I would like to say about that is we did a survey. Well, we do surveys to find out, to check the temperature of our residents, and we asked them, what do you think about taxes? How do you feel about them? 84% of Eden Prairie residents felt they were getting either a good to excellent value when comparing taxes to the quality of city services. Well, I do believe we always need to look for ways to be innovative and efficient. I think if we really were going to cut the budget, we would have to eliminate services that our residents tell us they need and want.
Okay, thank you very much. On the subject of the budget, here's another question, and we'll start with Sherry Butcher-Wickstrom for this one. What is your opinion about bringing back the short-lived Budget Advisory Commission?
The Budget Advisory Commission, it was short-lived. I don't know. I think that they were operating for maybe 3 or 4 years. And I didn't believe that we needed that extra layer of scrutiny of the budget. That really is the role of the City Council. And I think that we work so closely with the staff on the budget. But not only that, we have a lot of transparency when it comes to the budget. We have so many meetings, dozens of meetings, and the public is absolutely encouraged to come to those meetings and provide feedback to all of us about what they think about the budget. So I think we've got a very good budget process in place right now. And as I said, I do think that is the reason that this council is elected, is to be responsible for the budget.
Okay, thank you very much. Kathy Nelson?
The Budget Advisory Committee actually recommended that they not be continued. And the City Council already has in place where we will bring them back for special projects, just like when they help decide how we should get long-term money for roads and sewer and water. And they looked at all the possible situations and came up with one that was the same as what staff ultimately did. And in the future, I hope that when we do have a specific project, we will bring back that our group or a group of interested community members. But the council is elected. It's a fiduciary responsibility. Taxes are one of the main things that we do. We can be unelected or elected every 4 years. I think that we do a good job since we do have very low taxes in this city. People seem happy about them.
Thank you very much. Andrew Muller?
And I do agree with Kathy that the Budget Committee could be used in limited circumstances if needed. I think one of the things that I can bring to the council if I'm elected is that I have a vast experience in reviewing budgets. I've reviewed budgets for 20 years. I've reviewed a budget for a $500 million company, which is more than 10 times the general fund expenditures here in Eden Prairie. So I've gone through a level of complexity that's probably much greater than what we have in running the city. I have developed techniques over the years of being able to review budgets very efficiently. I've met with our city manager and discussed the budget. I've actually read the full 304-page document of the 2014 and 2015 budget. So I feel very comfortable that I'll be able to add a skill that's not currently on the city council. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. The next question, we'll start with Kathy Nelson. What are the benefits of term limits for the Eden Prairie City Council, and what is the appropriate number of terms for a city council position?
I'm not sure that there is any benefits in this term limits. It's never really been brought up by the community at this point. People will elect you if they want you to continue. They won't elect you if they don't want you to continue. You need some kind of people who have been on the council who know some things. You also need newer members. I happen to be the newest member on the council. But it's important that you come in with some idea of how the city operates. And I think the public is perfectly willing to decide if they're happy or unhappy.
Okay, thank you very much. Andrew Muller?
I do believe that term limits are very beneficial. I think it encourages greater citizen involvement, sometimes just by force, because if there's somebody whose term is up, there has to be a new candidate taking the position. So the innovation and new ideas that come to the council will certainly come from new people who join the council. In looking at what's a reasonable term for the mayor and for our city council, I would say 3, 4 4-year terms.
Okay, thank you very much. And Sherry Butcher-Wickstrom?
Yes, I don't really believe in an arbitrary number of 3 or 4 terms or whatever. I believe that as long as people are continuing to bring ideas forward, to be innovative, and not to be stale, that and to continue to grow with the city, I think that's all very, very important. But something I really need to say is that local government is extremely complex and complicated. It takes a couple of years just to understand and go through the different processes. We've got parks, we've got public works, just to understand, the fire and police calls. It takes a long time to get up to speed, to understand all the codes that we have. So I think it's very important to have people with experience, but also to have people who continue to bring fresh and good ideas, and that they're not mutually exclusive because you're on the council, that you can't have new ideas.
Thank you very much. The next question will start with Andrew Muller. What was the total cost of the project to purchase the condemned home and repair the storm sewer collapse, which occurred at 11211 Burr Ridge Lane this summer?
The cost to actually purchase the home, I think, is in the minutes, was $450,000. To repair the washed out hillside, my discussions with Rick Getcho indicated that more than $2 million were spent. The pipe that collapsed was a corrugated metal pipe, and Eden Prairie still has several miles of similar pipe. The city has undertaken a project to review the integrity of those pipes. I know in my neighborhood they found a damaged pipe and spent about a week repairing it. So I think with our infrastructure aging and so many miles of it still being consisting of the corrugated metal pipe, that we do need to focus on having preventative maintenance on that infrastructure.
Okay, thank you very much. The next person we'll call on is Sherry Butcher-Wickstrom.
I think that was such a fluke that happened on Burr Ridge, and I don't believe it's an indication that we have a decaying infrastructure in Eden Prairie. I think we have a very good plan in Eden Prairie for our public works. I do think what happened was that there were 2 1,000-year flood events that are so unusual to have happen. But the rain was so unusual, and there were storms that were back to back. And so it really was Mother Nature, I think, that had a huge impact on that particular incident. And I do think it was the right thing to do that we assisted the resident in replacing or purchasing that process or their property. However, I don't expect that this is something that we're going to see a lot of. I just think it was a fluke.
Okay, thank you very much. Kathy Nelson?
The city does have a good replacement policy, which we just put in over the last 2 years for being able to have the money to fix sewer and water pipe as it's needed, without necessarily having to go back to each individual residence and tax them for it like other cities do. We recognize that we are going to have to replace sewer and water pipes, and they do keep up looking at this. Sherry was quite right, though, that this was 3 inches in 1 hour rain. I know the bottom of my street was flooded out. It never floods out. About a third of the people in Eden Prairie had water in their basement, many for the very first time. It was a very unusual storm. And we were in there already fixing something that was almost fixed, but not quite. So I think we do a good job of replacement, that we've done the long-range planning to put the budget into effect, and we will keep people's homes safe.
Okay, thank you very much. There's a follow-up question to this, and I guess some of you have touched on it, but let me ask you anyway. The question is, what is Eden Prairie doing to inspect other storm sewers in the city? And we would start with Sherry Butcher-Wickstrom.
Yes, as Kathy mentioned, we do have a plan in place, and we have put resources toward that. And, you know, we will continue to respond if there are these kind of unusual circumstances.
Okay, thank you very much. And Andrew Muller?
I think what the city is doing is actually putting cameras down some of the corrugated metal pipe sewer lines and looking for cracks. This occurred in my neighborhood on Branching Horn, and as I said, it took them about a week to repair that. As far as extreme weather events, I lived in Eden Prairie in 1987 where there was a 10-inch rain, and there was also the major washout of another house on the bluff at that time. So I'm not so sure that rain events of this nature are 1 in 1,000 years. One happened in 1987. We had a 5-inch rain last year. We had 2 5-inch rains this year. So there are extreme weather events, and I think we really do have to look at our infrastructure and make sure that we have funds available for that instead of luxurious amenities such as the aquatic center.
Okay, thank you very much. And Kathy Nelson?
It is important that we keep up with our sewer and water, and that's why the council did put into effect the funds to do this long-term. It was one of the things I had on my long-range planning, and it is one of the things that did happen. We have a whole system for going through all the pipes and water in a systematic way in the city through a plan for public works, and they do find almost every error. Now, that doesn't mean that something can't burst somewhere. You know, it's a very large city, but we have much less than any of the cities around us, and we have very good systems put into place, and we have an excellent public works department.
Okay, thank you very much. The next question, we'll start with Sherry Butcher-Wickstrom, and this is the question. Tell us about your community involvement before your election or candidacy for the Eden Prairie City Council that enables you to be an effective city council member.
Well, I was saving that for my closing, but I'll answer it right now. I served on the Eden Prairie Heritage Preservation Commission before I was elected as a city council member. And I served for 5 years. I found that to be an incredibly eye-opening and very fulfilling experience because it gave me a broader understanding of how local government works. And as I mentioned, government is complicated, and there are many facets to it. In fact, there's been a sort of a tradition in the city that folks who have served on a commission oftentimes will run for the city council because they have learned something about the planning commission or the environmental and natural resource commission, and so they know that it's something that they really, really enjoy.
Okay, thank you very much. Kathy Nelson?
Before I was elected, I had served for 6 years on the city's planning commission, most of the time as the vice chair of the commission. It was very important to learn all the planning and long-range things that go through, plus the things that residents have that come up for them that weren't planned right when their house was built that they need changes for. And you learn not to make those same kinds of mistakes again then. I was also on the school start time committee, so I had some ideas on what people needed in the schools. I was on the last referendum committee in 2004. I've also been active in my church in Eden Prairie and know a lot of people from there. I think it's important to be working on committees, knowing what's happening in the city and meeting people in the community so that you're ready to represent them. And it is very complicated. It's not just reading financial documents. It's knowing a lot of things about a wide range of topics that take time.
Okay, thank you very much. Andrew Muller?
First, I guess the number one thing I would say is I do belong to Mount Olivet Lutheran Church. I have a sort of a grassroots approach to community involvement. I'm an avid gardener, and this year I've grown 250 pounds of fresh garden produce that I've donated to the prop shop at the food shelves at the Eden Prairie Prop Shop. I am also a member of the Arbor Day Foundation. The Arbor Day Foundation supports the Tree City USA program, and Eden Prairie has received this designation for the last 32 years. I'm a financial supporter of the Eden Prairie Wounded Warrior program. I financially support the Hennepin County Library, the Golden Gopher Fund, and numerous other local charities.
Okay, thank you very much. The next question will start with Andrew Muller. What programs or services would you like to see implemented or changed for the youth of Eden Prairie?
There again, I think this is probably going to be more of a school issue than a city issue, but the city obviously does have a number of sports fields that the youth of Eden Prairie use. I think it's very important to continue to maintain those. One thing I'd like to see is just with that Cummins Grill House is that it can be preserved in private hands, but I would think that it actually would make an ideal like ice cream seasonal store that could serve the kids that play softball and football and soccer on the fields that are nearby.
Okay, thank you very much. Kathy Nelson?
I think Eden Prairie does a good job with our programs. The sports programs that are used by almost every child in Eden Prairie. The Arts Center programs, we have a wide range of programs. I'd like to see us continue making even a wider range of programs for children, more activities in some of the individual sports areas, and that we do some, but maybe not as much as other areas. I think continuing with a wider range of things for preschool children, and maybe preschool children with a wide range of abilities, also ranges in this area that we have for art and in the sports areas.
Okay, thank you very much. Sherry Butcher-Wickstrom?
Yes, well, I certainly would like to continue all of the things that we do. I think it's so important for our youth. It keeps them healthy, it keeps them engaged. It's just a good idea, very important for community. So I really believe in the sports programs and the ball fields. The aquatic center is certainly going to help in this area too. For so long, it was so competitive to try to get your child even to get to a swimming lesson because we only had the one pool. The aquatic center is going to be wonderful for that. But I do think we need other things as well. I really appreciate that we have places like the Dunn Brothers. That is a place, while it's not necessarily for sports, it is a great spot for our teens to get together and play music and to gather and have conversation. Those things are really important as well as the ball fields.
Thank you very much. I've been told that that's all the time we have for questions because the candidates agreed ahead of time to end at 8 o'clock in consideration of the football game that's on tonight. So we'll go to closing statements now, and we'll start in reverse order from what we did for openings. So we'll begin with Andrew Muller's closing remarks, which are, as I understand it, 2 minutes per candidate.
All right. Thanks again for everyone coming out tonight. I know that there were other options with the Viking-Packer game on, so it's good to see at least a modest turnout here. I believe there are clear differences between me and the other two candidates who are running for city council. I think reviewing the budgets is one of the biggest and most important functions of a city council member, and I think I'm more qualified than the other candidates to complete this task. I also believe in term limits, which I think would help bring some fresh new ideas to the city council. I support citizen involvement if we're going to have large expenditures, spending $28 million without asking for a referendum on the aquatic center, to me is not really listening to the taxpayers and giving them a say. In 2005, we had a $3.3 million request for an upgrade to the community center for the pool, and that was voted down. So I believe that this is an issue that the taxpayers really wanted to have more of a say on. My name is Andrew Muller, and I'm asking for your vote on November 4th. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next, closing remarks by Kathy Nelson.
I've had a vision for Eden Prairie that I want to continue. I've seen the city as a place with green spaces and trees and flowers, an innovative city that solves problems before they get large. I also want to see a financially stable community, continuing our AAA ratings with sensible low taxes. We need to keep well-maintained streets and parks and trails and sewer and water. And we also need to have support for our businesses, both the businesses that exist here and the new businesses that would like to come here. I want to see housing for all generations so that everyone can live in Eden Prairie and has a place to live. And I'll work hard to keep Eden Prairie great. 4 years ago, I promised that if I was elected to the city council, residents wouldn't have to worry about well-maintained streets, parks, water, and sewer in a safe community because I would worry about it for them. I have kept that promise, and I make the same promise again if I am reelected. And I would appreciate your vote on November 4th. And I'd also like to encourage one of our Eden Prairie businesses and say, go Vikings.
Thank you very much. Next, we'll hear from Sherry Butcher-Wickstrom, her closing remarks.
Yes, thank you. Since my family put our roots down in Eden Prairie 30 years ago, I have been active in the community. I've worked on local environmental issues. I've served as a city-appointed commissioner of the Heritage Preservation Commission, and for 16 years, I have worked as a member of the City Council. During my tenure as an elected official, I have served on numerous committees and task forces. I've served in leadership positions as a trustee on the Minnesota League of Cities Insurance Trust, as well as on the National League of Cities Democratic Governance Committee. Over the years, I have been dedicated to fostering Eden Prairie, and I cannot think of a better place to live or work. It is a community with spirit, with beauty, and diversity. Our city has been repeatedly identified as one of the best small cities in the country, one of the best places to raise a family, and a top spot to retire. And recently, Eden Prairie has been identified as one of the safest communities in the state of Minnesota. It doesn't get any better than that. I believe our future opportunity is to continue on the course of preserving our high quality of life while maintaining the affordable excellence our residents are used to. This will take experienced leadership and open-minded and effective decision-making to support our community into the future. I have the years of experience needed to continue to lead our city on this trajectory and keep Eden Prairie the great place that it has become. I respectfully ask for your vote for re-election to the Eden Prairie City Council on November 4th.
Thank you very much. And finally, we'll hear the closing remarks of Nancy Tyra-Lukens.
Eden Prairie has faced some difficult challenges as a city over the last 20 years. Some of the factors have been politically motivated levy limits imposed by the state legislature, difficult economic times, and big changes in demographics. But these are not changes that have solely impacted Eden Prairie. These have impacted cities all across the metro area. Some cities have chosen to deal with this by, in effect, dumbing down city government. The councils I have served with have chosen to maintain a commitment to a strong Eden Prairie through their goals to be innovative and use sustainable practices, to promote a sense of community, to preserve the beautiful environment and history of our community, to deliver high-quality, efficient services that use the taxpayer dollar wisely, and to work towards a sense of community well-being and safety. We want to continue to be the community of choice for businesses and residents by maintaining high standards for housing stock, building standards for commercial construction, keeping our parks and facilities well-maintained, and plowing our streets better than our neighboring communities, and so on. We need to keep working to keep the city vibrant, interesting, attractive, and new. We need to continue looking for ways to deliver all of our services in a more effective, efficient way so that we can conserve resources, fuel, electricity, and taxpayer dollars. I think we've been very successful at this over the years, and I will continue to work on this over the next 4 years. We've charted a great course for our city over the years. This has paid off with happy residents and happy businesses. We know this because we constantly survey our residents and our businesses to find out about their interests and their satisfaction. We've also obtained a lot of national recognition for what we've done. We have a great staff, a great council, and a great community, and I look forward to continuing to work for you over the next 4 years. Thank you.
Thank you very much. This concludes our candidate forum. Thank you to the candidates, to the audience, and to those viewing the forum on cable for your participation tonight. The forum has been broadcast live on Comcast Cable Channel 16, and it will be rebroadcast repeatedly in the coming weeks. Please see www.lwvmeph.org for the rebroadcast schedule. You are welcome to meet with the candidates informally in the lobby outside the double doors after we conclude. This room will be closed at 8:30 p.m. Thank you very much for coming, and remember to vote on November 4th.